With PSyqualia Strife being released today, we return to the two original badass clans of Vanguard, being Royal Paladin and Kagero. Not only that, we finally bring grade 4s to the table, with Exculpate the Blaster for Royal Paladin and Transcendence Dragon Dragonic Novel Vague for Kagero. That being said, here at Miracle Trigger, I'm working extremely hard to make sure that when the next set comes out, you have all the information you need to play the decks you want right away. So, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the card icon in the top right corner for the Kagero video, but for now, let's talk about some knights who are almost as cool as Shadow Paladins. Kicking off the grade 4s, we have Exculpate the Blaster. When placed, you can counterblast 1 and choose one card from your soul and put all other cards from your soul into the drop zone. When this unit attacks, during your turn, this unit battles all of your opponent's rearguards in one attack. This is a pretty cool ability which basically allows you to clear your opponent's field, because why would they guard their rearguards when you're swinging for such a massive number? On top of that, at the end of the battle that this unit attacks, you can put 2 cards from your hand into your soul, and then retire this unit. Then you can ride a Blaster Blade from your soul as stand. If you could not do this, you lose the game. So while it can be an issue if you don't have a Blaster Blade available, simply keeping one in your hand allows this ability to go off pretty consistently, and it's just an all-around decent card altogether. Moving on to the grade 3s, the grade 3 which Bushiroad seems to be pushing to tie with Exculpate the Blaster is Alfred Early. When placed, you can counterblast 1 and call 1 Blaster Blade from your hand or soul to rearguard, and then you give that unit plus 10,000 power until the end of the turn on top of drawing a card. Now on paper this doesn't seem to mesh well with Exculpate the Blaster, as they need the Blaster Blade to remain in soul and this one removes it, but just because you're able to put Blaster Blade to soul with Exculpate's ability, you kind of break even and you're not worried too much. Honestly, the bigger detriment to the ability seems to be King of Knights Alfred. Once a turn, he can counterblast 1 and search your deck for a Blaster Blade and call it to rearguard. That unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn, and then you shuffle the deck. On top of that, if the Blaster Blade is on your field, he gets 10,000 power. Now while you might think that this pairs better with Exculpate, it is kind of an issue as you're removing them from deck. Basically it's kind of a situational effect. So if you rode Blaster Blade on turn 2, you basically want to go into King of Knights Alfred. This is because you already have the Blaster Blade available and you're guaranteed to get Exculpate's effect off. This means that superior calling Blaster Blade from deck isn't going to negatively affect your game plan. However, if you didn't ride Blaster Blade for grade 2, Alfred Early is probably the better ride, as you can power through your deck, draw as many cards as you need, and really push for some big numbers. Remember, you can usually draw into another Blaster Blade, so it's not a big issue and you're not thinning your deck of them. The final grade 3 I want to talk about is Soul Saber Dragon. It should be included in the deck, I think, although I completely understand not running it. He has the ability that you can Soul Blast 5, and 6 of your units get plus 15,000 power until the end of the turn. When it attacks, you can also Soul Charge 1. So this is a crazy powerful card. It's an optional way of getting Blaster Blade in your soul as well through its attacks. However, just being able to give your field 15,000 power each is massive. This is basically your alternate win condition, and it works a lot of the time. The grade 2s are kind of your utility for the deck though. Blaster Blade, the card that's been mentioned several times, has the ability that on Vanguard that if you have 4 or more rearguards, this unit gets a critical. So remember, when you're riding it after Exculpate, you probably have some force markers under him, and he likely attacks with a critical, which is pretty great actually. On top of that, when you play him on either Vanguard or Rearguard, you can Counterblast and Soul Blast 1, retiring one of your opponent's rearguards in the front row. It's a pretty solid card, it isn't monumentally expensive to play, and the option of getting an extra crit synchronizes really well with Exculpate the Blaster. An extremely powerful grade 2 is High Dog Breeder Akane. When placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, you can Counterblast 1 and search your deck for a Pwn Goal, calling it to Rearguard. You can then shuffle your deck, and if it's boosted by a High Beast, it also gets 3,000 power. Pwn Goal is a very powerful card, as we'll see later, and being able to call him out like this is just useful for many facets of the deck. On top of that, your deck thinning, which, as you probably realize, deck thinning is deck winning. The final grade 2 I want to touch on is Sage of Salvation Venon. There are a couple other grade 2s which can be played, but they're not terribly exciting and very basic across the board, so we're going to go with this one. So when you play it on Rearguard, you can reveal and Exculpate the Blaster from your hand, return it to your deck, and grab in Alfred Early, putting it into your hand. It's a pretty okay effect, lets you Cycle into the grade 3s that you might be missing while you're riding, because you're probably running less grade 3s than you would like to, and it's just a good card when you're looking at the consistency of the deck. On to the grade 1s, we're going to start off with Wingle, who gets a 5,000 power boost if you have a Blaster Blade in the same column as this unit. Putting this behind Vanguard is typically what you want to do, as after your Exculpate turn, you can swing for 23,000 just with this and Blaster Blade, and of course you have at least 2 force markers there, bumping you up to 43,000. That's pretty great. It's a magic number from just about every clan, and you're not going to go too wrong with it. On top of that, even if you make a rearguard column out of this, you're already swinging for 23, which again is just a great number. The grade 1 we mentioned earlier, Pongal, has the ability that when placed, if you have another unit in the same column as this one, Soul Charge 1. If the Soul Charged unit is a trigger, it gets 5,000 power. So again, you're going to be building up that soul for either the effects of Soul Saver Dragon, if you're looking for that win con, or if you're looking to get a Blaster Blade in the soul for Exculpate the Blaster. Either way, it's a pretty decent card, and you do have the option of swinging for 23,000 a lot of the time. Now, one of the best grade 1s in the deck, by far, is Little Sage Merit. On rearguard, it has the ability that once per turn, when another card is placed in the same unit, you can counterblast one and draw a card, as well as giving this unit plus 3,000 power. It's a great way to cycle through the deck. You're building a pretty good advantage while supplying your field, and it's just a great card all around. Similarly, we have Knight Squire Allen. When placed on rearguard, you can counterblast one and call a card with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your hand. If you do, you can draw a card, and this unit gets plus 3,000 power. These two basically have a very similar effect, it just comes down to your board positioning. On to the triggers. Again, this is one of those clans you can go pretty much however you want, you're going to have an alright time. However, I tend to run 6 crit and 6 draw. The reason for this is that when you're running grade 4s, you want to make sure that you're hitting the correct cards on your way up towards it. On top of that, you need to have a Blaster Blade in hand, and you need to be able to fill your board. These are all things that are extremely important to the Royal Paladin clan, and the draw triggers really help you get there. That being said, if you do want to build a more aggressive version of the deck, I definitely suggest you run a crit 4 draw, as you're going to win a lot more that way. Overall, the clan struggles against board wipes, however, it does have the ability to come back into the game with things like Sharon, Allen, and Alfred, but it can also struggle against Protect clans. Being able to swing for big numbers don't really matter if you're being shut down with a single card. Where the deck does have pretty good strength is that it can swing for big numbers, make a board pretty consistently, Exculpate offers a board wipe, and Soul Saver has a massive win condition. Another really great part of this deck is that, unlike Transcendence, you have a way of going back to a grade 3. So let's say you rode Transcendence in Kagero, you could never get back to Waterfall. However, in this deck, after riding Exculpate, you go back to grade 2, and if you want to build towards a Soul Saver win condition, you can absolutely do that. The deck is extremely fun, it makes massive boards, and can swing for pretty crazy numbers. It essentially has a standing Vanguard which can attack with a crit a lot of the time, and the cards have amazing synergy between each other. I think another grade 3 is probably what's needed to make the deck really get to that next level, as well as possibly another grade 2 to replace Benon. But overall, the deck's pretty good as is, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun playing it. Again though, if you want to learn about the Transcendence Kagero deck, you can click on the card icon in the top right corner to look for that video. You can also let me know what the next clan that you want to see is in the comment section below, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Vanguard content. But until next time, this has been Miracle Trigger. I hope you have a pretty good idea of how to play the deck and what cards you might want to use, and I hope I see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.